thanks for all of the kindness from the day Dylan was rushed to the hospital all the way through this very moment. The amount of support that we've received in the forms of calls, texts, cards, prayers, gift cards, flowers, visits to the hospital, food brought to the hospital, food still being delivered to our house, the money donated to us by family, friends, and people we don't even know. It's all been absolutely unbelievable. I want to give a special thanks to our employers, Escott and Beanstack, Escott way back there, for all of your understanding and generosity over the last couple months. Because of all the things we've had to worry about over the last couple months, losing our jobs has not been one of them, and we're very grateful for that. But it's been extremely humbling to know and to see just how many people truly cared about Dylan and his family. And we just want to make sure everybody knows how much we appreciate it. We also want to thank all of you for making the trek here to Daytona International Speedway. If you knew Dylan, you know that he absolutely loved auto racing, all different forms of it. IMSA, Indy cars, F1, most of all NASCAR. And this track right here, this place that we're all standing right in the middle of, this was his absolute favorite place in the world. And we knew that this would be the perfect place to hold his celebration. We were so happy when we were able to secure this venue just for him. And it's so appropriate, I don't know where they went, but there was some race cars out there, but it's so appropriate that there's been race cars going around the track, especially those particular cars, which belong to the NASCAR Racing Experience, formerly known as the Richard Petty Driving Experience, which is where I worked for the first half of his life. And from a very young age, that boy loved to visit Dad at work. And that's where his love of race cars began. A couple quick stories. When he was only 6 months old, my help was needed for a driving event up in Charlotte. And to help convince me to go, the company offered to fly Kel and Dylan up there with me. So we packed up the big stroller and all the crap that you need to travel with a 6-month-old. And that was Dylan's first plane ride, business trip to Charlotte Motor Speedway. So I can still see him, little Dylan in that stroller, rolled up to the pit wall, watching the event with his mom. And even though we reminded him of that time many times, for some reason, he never remembered it. But his mom and I certainly do. Then another time when he was only about 2 or 3 years old, we were right here in Daytona. It must have been after work one day. We were down in the garage area. Dylan was wandering around all the cars, getting a closer look. And I had a brilliant idea. I got in one of the cars, Mom fed Dylan through the window, sat him on my lap, and I started that car up. Well, that was a huge mistake. Because those cars are pretty loud when they first start up, and they're even louder when they're in a garage. And when that engine lit, it absolutely scared the crap out of him. He was crying. I felt terrible. I thought I'd ruined everything. I thought he was never going to want to come around this place again. And he was scared. He wanted nothing to do with this place for a while. But fortunately, in time, he got over it. And once he did, he couldn't get enough. Once he got a little bit older, we started bringing him to the actual races here. He would come to the 24-hour race with his papa, and I would bring him to most of the NASCAR events. We would sit up here in the grandstands during the races, but back then I was fortunate enough to be able to get hot passes, which meant he and I could spend pre-race and practice sessions down in the garage area. And his favorite thing to do down there, he would go around to every one of the race car haulers and grab those hero cards. For those who don't know, a hero card is basically a picture of a driver in his car. And he would grab every one of those that he could find. And we would hang out down in the garage area just looking for drivers who might stop and sign one of those cards or get a quick photo. But I think back then he actually liked that more than the actual races. But he loved it. In fact, we still have stacks of those hero cards in his room right now as we speak, under his bed. But then once he got old enough to drive, he didn't need me or his papa to bring him here. He could come to all the events that he wanted. And he tried to. He came to almost every one of them. And if he couldn't convince Summer or any of his other friends to come with him, he would come here all by himself. He loved it. He didn't care. He would sit here for hours and just soak it all in. He couldn't get enough. And that's why, once again, this is the perfect place to hold his event. Dylan wasn't only into racing. He was a sports fan in general. He was a big fan of the Orlando Magic, Atlanta Braves, Atlanta Falcons, Orlando City, UCF, and Florida State. I'm still not really sure how or why he chose those particular teams to root for, but he did. He really didn't have a choice. Growing up, he played several sports like football, flag football, baseball, basketball, soccer, and even a little bit of karate. I wouldn't say he was especially gifted in any of those sports, but he did a good job. He enjoyed it. And more recently, one of his favorite things was hanging out with his friends, as they did things like working out at the gym, poker nights, late night basketball games, and even occasionally a little bit of soccer. But there was one thing that Dylan loved even more than playing those sports, and that was driving a go-kart. A couple years ago, he and I competed in a karting league over at Orlando Kart Center. It didn't take long before he started absolutely kicking my rear end and pretty much everybody else's rear end as well. He won a ton of races. In fact, in the 4 seasons that he competed in, he won the championship 3 times in a row. He figured something out. It wasn't big time racing, but he took it very seriously. And I'm pretty sure that out of all the things he's ever done in his life, those 3 championships was what he was the most proud of. But it was just so much fun competing with and against him in those races. But it's times like racing together, helping him practice all those sports, rooting for our teams, and attending all those sporting events. Those are the things that really connected Dylan and I. And those are the things that we enjoyed doing together. And that's what I'm going to miss the most about him. And by the way, we can't talk any longer about this kid without bringing up 2 things. His eyes and his eyelashes. His whole life, people marvel at how blue his eyes were and those long eyelashes. As a matter of fact, even in the hospital recently, almost every nurse commented about his eyelashes and his eyes. We even had nurses that weren't assigned to us stopping by the room just to see those eyelashes that everybody had been talking about. Isn't that right? Crazy. But probably the best thing about Dylan and what a lot of people will miss the most about him was his crazy personality and sense of humor. He loved acting like a goofball, and he loved it when other people acted like goofballs. Whether it was a stupid dad joke or a witty comment or a crazy outfit, he loved to make people laugh. In high school, Dylan and Cade, where's Cade? I saw Cade coming here. There he is. Cade. Dylan and Cade co-anchored the daily news broadcast. And the 2 of them together definitely had their own crazy style that was very entertaining. I'm pretty sure there were no other school broadcasts quite like theirs anywhere in the world. But every night when I would go home from work, I would watch that day's broadcast on YouTube. I thought they were great. But also at that same time, he and the guys also shot many commercials and short videos that were both hilarious and really well done. But also in high school, Dylan announced the online broadcast for the football games, did in-game announcing for basketball and other sports as needed. And for a long time, that's what he wanted to do. He wanted to pursue a career in sports broadcasting. And had he continued down that path, he actually would have been really good at it. But after high school, once he was in college, taking his college classes at SCC, I'm old, I'm that old, Seminole State, he decided he wanted to be an airline pilot. And that was going to take a tremendous amount of time and commitment, but our whole family, we were all in, willing to do whatever it was going to take to make that happen. He was so excited about his future in flying, and we were just thrilled that he found something he was so passionate about and wanted to do for a career. But if it were totally up to him, he probably would have bypassed the college stuff and jumped right to the flying. But our deal was he had to get his AA before working on the good stuff. But unfortunately, he fell just short of getting to the good stuff. But there's not a doubt in our minds that he would have been a tremendous pilot one of these days. Throughout this afternoon, we're going to be playing these slideshows on these monitors, and you're going to see dozens and dozens of pictures of Dylan doing all the things that he liked doing the most. There's also a jar in the background, in the back table, the back of the room there, a memory jar, where we encourage anybody to write down your favorite memories with him and place them in that jar. But each one of those photos and memories, they're all small reminders of just how much we've been missing Dylan. Most of us will never stop missing him. But we can all find some comfort in knowing that he was able to save lives with the donation of his organs and tissues. Recipients were found for his heart, kidneys, liver, spleen, and pancreas. And we absolutely love knowing that parts of our son are still alive and well out there. And we actually consider him to be a bit of a hero for giving the gift of life to those who are so in such dire need. And for that, and for so many other things, we're extremely proud. Recently, I stumbled upon a very simple quote from a well-known writer, and I thought it was absolutely perfect for this occasion. The great Dr. Seuss once said, "Don't cry because it's over, smile because it happened." Again, don't cry because it's over, smile because it happened. I know there's going to be some crying here today. There already is, and that's okay. But remember, our main reason for being here is to celebrate the 20 wonderful years that we enjoyed with Dylan. So over the next couple of hours, let's go ahead and do just that. Let's enjoy family and friends, maybe meet some new people, eat, drink, tell some lies, and reminisce. But most importantly, remember to smile. Not just because Dr. Seuss told us to, but because that's exactly what Dylan would want us to do, especially right here at his favorite place in the world. Thank you.